Good morning. It's the next day. It's just before 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm about to head next door to the train station to ride Amtrak from St. Louis to Chicago. If you don't know why that's going on, check out the previous video, or at least the last little bit of it. And I've never ridden Amtrak before, so I'll post some clips and things about the experience. I'm kind of excited. Another hotel room. I'm going to sit down in a second and explain why I'm not home yet. Alright, well, things did not exactly go as planned today. I was supposed to ride Amtrak from St. Louis to Chicago, have about 4 to 5 hours to spend doing whatever in Chicago, and then take the train out to Midway Airport and fly home, which would have put me home sometime right around now, actually. I'm in Chicago. I grabbed another hotel room tonight because Amtrak absolutely sucked. Amtrak was such a horrendous experience. I will never ride them again. Today was the first and the last time I'll ever take Amtrak. Here's what happened. I woke up this morning at the hotel room in St. Louis to a text message because I had given Amtrak my phone number during the booking process and opted into the delay alerts, and lo and behold, there was a delay. The first delay was only about 30 minutes, so I got up and got ready for the day, and before I left the hotel room there was another text message from Amtrak saying it was delayed, I don't remember, like an hour, something like that. So then I go over to the train station right next door, and it's delayed another half hour, then they announce another 20 minutes, and then after a lot of that, bullcrap, they announce the train is actually there, but there's so many people booked on it that they need to add another train car to it, so that took another half hour, and it just was forever. So from the time I arrived at the St. Louis train station to the time I actually boarded the train was a solid 2 hours. And it was wall-to-wall people. Every seat had somebody in it. And that's because the earlier train was canceled. So all the people from the canceled train were rolled into this one. So by now, I'm already bullshit before I've even gotten on the train. But the trouble is just beginning. So the train starts going. And if you're familiar with St. Louis, you know that downtown St. Louis is right on the Mississippi River. Just cross a bridge and you're in Illinois. So the train starts creeping along really slowly, and it crosses the bridge from downtown St. Louis over into Illinois. And no sooner does the train get into Illinois than it stops. And it waits for about probably 10 to 15 minutes, and they don't give any reason why. It just stops. Then it starts going again. Goes what I would estimate to be maybe a mile. So it's in Illinois, but still right across the river from St. Louis. Hasn't gone any friggin' place yet. And it stops for 1 hour. An entire hour. And nobody knows what's going on. And after about 45 minutes, they come on the PA system and announce that somebody was smoking on the train, and the conductors are searching to find out who was smoking so they can be thrown off the train. An hour for that. Just tell them they can't smoke on the train and tell them to put out their cigarette. Don't delay us all for an hour. Goodness. So that happened. And then, as soon as that's finally resolved and the train starts moving again, it creeps along at like 10 miles an hour for a few minutes, and then it stops again and pulls off to wait for a freight train to go by. And the engineer comes on the PA system, and he makes an announcement that they have to wait for freight trains to pass, because I Googled it, and I guess freight trains usually have the right of way, and Amtrak has to pull off and wait. So it took hours. I don't even remember. It took like 2 or 3 hours to go the first 10 miles. It was probably more than that. It was probably over 3 hours to go like the first 10 miles. It was horrendous. And then the train, when it finally started going again, it went like 20 miles an hour, and then it slowed down to 10, and then it slowed down to 5, and it stopped again several times. Just an awful experience. Once it got into like the middle of Illinois, it started going a little bit better. It was up to speed for a time, but then it started going slow again as it approached every station. Started going slow again as it approached the outskirts of Chicago. All in all, it took just about 8 hours from the time I boarded the train to the time I arrived in Chicago. By car, that's about 4 hours and 15 minutes, give or take. So the train took double the amount of time that going by car would have taken. And that doesn't even include the 2 hours I spent waiting at the train station in St. Louis. So for a total of 10 hours to go somewhere that's 4 hours away. Absolutely horrendous. I would not recommend Amtrak to anyone. Just really crappy. So as the train was passing through like the interior middle of Illinois, I was looking at the time like, crap, it's going to be a stretch to make this flight. And even then, even if I could have rushed and made it, I was like, fuck, I don't really want to at this point. I'm screwed out of all of my Chicago time that I was supposed to have. So I went back into the Southwest website, logged into my account, and I changed my flight again to tomorrow. So instead of flying home tonight from Chicago Midway, I'm flying home tomorrow afternoon from Chicago Midway. I did that, took care of that, still got the $7 credit back from Southwest, which is awesome because tomorrow's flight was cheaper than what I was originally supposed to have from St. Louis the other day. So as much as I hate the Southwest boarding process, they've come in clutch this trip, letting me change my flight twice in 2 days without paying a cent for it and even getting credit back. And I obviously needed a place to stay tonight. So I was looking around. I didn't really feel like doing Airbnb and running into a chatty host because I'm just exhausted. Just didn't want to deal with that tonight, so I chose to stay at a hotel. Did some research on the it's been a long day, on the Priceline and Hotwire blind bids, did my research, and this place is called the Willow Hotel. It's a little bit north of the Loop. It's in the general vicinity of Wrigley Field. Took the CTA Brown line to get up here, which was refreshing to ride on a train that actually goes somewhere in a timely fashion. So I'm going to go out and walk around a little bit tonight, go eat at Giordanos deep dish pizza, which is one of my favorite places to eat. Only in the Chicago area is where you can get it, and it's just really good, authentic Chicago-style deep dish pizza. Going to go have some of that in just a few minutes here. Then tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up and ramble around Chicago, explore some things for a little bit. And then my flight home to Boston Logan's at 2 o'clock out of Midway on Southwest. And one more thing that the train, really screwed up for me today. When I figured that I was going to, change my flight and go home tomorrow, I, had that all squared away. And I was going to go to the Chicago Bulls game tonight at the United Center. But the train continued to get further and further and further and further behind schedule. I didn't have time. I never made it. Could not have made that game because of that damn train. So just a horrendous Amtrak experience. I'm probably going to shoot off an email to Amtrak and just complain and just bitch at them, basically. Which I'm sure it'll get nowhere. I probably won't even get a reply, but things like that does really help me feel better, at least a little bit. Yeah, so I'm gonna starving. I haven't eaten yet today because I spent the whole damn time on the train. And I am gonna go to Giordanos. I'll show you what I get. I just ordered pizza from Giordanos. I didn't really feel like being out that long, so I decided to just eat here in the hotel room. The closest one's about 3/4 of a mile away. I'm just gonna walk down there and pick it up for carry out because I don't want to just not go out again tonight, but I don't really feel like, being out and sitting at Giordano's for a long time. It takes like 45 minutes to make those pizzas. They're so good and it's worth it, but I just didn't feel like sitting in there for that long. So I ordered to go. I'm gonna go pick it up in a few minutes, and you could probably tell I'm spent. That train wore me out today, and I had a really heavy set guy sitting next to me, so it was pretty cramped. Just not. It's the first and last time I'll ever use Amtrak. But yeah, this pizza's gonna be awesome. Looking forward to it. I got a medium, and the pizzas at Giordano's are really big and very, very, very filling because it's deep dish. Like the last time I had it, I struggled to finish a small, and I have a big appetite. But I'm famished, so I sprung for the medium. I'll show you when it gets here. I think I would literally rather fly from like Boston to Seattle or like Miami to Seattle in a middle seat than repeat that Amtrak experience. Last time I went to Seattle, I flew nonstop from Boston, and let me tell you, it was a way better experience than this train was today. Still sitting here. Have a few more minutes to spare, trying to stay awake till I go get my pizza. So I'm well traveled by bus, ridden to all the major bus companies 20 times over, flown on every airline in the United States at least several times over. But I'm not really well traveled on Amtrak, obviously, because today was the first time. So I'm asking you, put a comment down below if you've taken Amtrak, and let me know how it was. Was it on time? Was it as shitty as my experience was? Let me know what happened. Is this an anomaly? Or is Amtrak routinely this bad? Let me know. I'm getting ready to go back out, putting on some warmer clothes. It's about 50 degrees. And I only was prepared for the 4-day trip that I thought I was going to have. These extra 2 days, I kind of ran out of clothes. Like I was going to put on my thermal shirt layer, and it just smells so bad. I'm going to skip it. All my clothes in my bag there. I should flip the camera around to show you that in a minute. Anyway, my clothes stink. I'm basically down to my last set of clothes that I'm wearing, but it's okay. I'm happy. I'm in Chicago, which, these 2 days are just a bonus. Other than the train, it's all good. Out walking to Giordano's. I really like Chicago. I gotta make a point to come here as a trip on its own, not just on the back end of something. That's how it's been the last couple times. Just got back, and this is a Giordano's pizza. I got a medium pepperoni. No exaggeration, this probably weighs 4 pounds. This is so thick and hearty. There it is. This is literally my favorite pizza in the entire world. It's kind of pricey, but I always get one when I'm in Chicago. I'm a couple miles north of the Loop, and there's just so many skyscrapers in Chicago, and I love it. In a lot of other cities, like this amount of tall buildings just right in front of me would be like the whole skyline. In Chicago, it's just one of many. There's so many neighborhoods like this. I'll show you the big stuff downtown when I get there. Lake Michigan. Getting closer to the loop. Just walked a long way along Lake Michigan, and now I'm back down where the tall buildings are.
It's so good.
A quick visit to Owen and Engine is on deck. Known for specialty cocktails and some of the city's best dance parties.
So this is the Hancock Center Observatory. There's nobody here, just me. Not crowded at all. It's just when they open on a weekday, and this is where I think the line would form, but it's just me, and this is great. So this is going up to the 94th floor. I did the Willis Tower, which is formerly the Sears Tower, which is the bigger of the two observatories in Chicago. Last time, actually 2 times ago that I was in Chicago, so I figured I would try this one, because I just love tall buildings.
The city's bustling down below. We step away from it up here at 1,000 feet high. There's peace, there's tranquility. Things are a little tinier.
Now that you mention it.
I've been researching a new structural system.
Earlier that year, Cohen and his partner Myron Goldsmith, which proposed designing a diagonally braced tube structure for a tall steel building.
People say to me, $1 for every ton that was set in the tavern to be billionaires.
I got home last night, never recorded anything after the last clips you just saw in Chicago. The last thing I did was tour the Hancock Center Observatory, which was extremely similar to the Sears Tower, whatever the heck they call it now. And it was very, very similar. One thing both of those places have in common, they play very mellow music at the observatories, and I'm not really sure why. It just killed the mood. But uneventful day in Chicago. I walked around a lot, down by the lakefront in some of the city. Did the observatory like I just said, and then I went to the airport and I flew home on Southwest out of Midway, and very uneventful. Made it home yesterday evening, and it was a very fun trip overall. Looking back on it, it's pretty funny that I fell into that Mississippi River mud. It got me 2 days in Chicago that I would not have otherwise had. And Amtrak was horrific. That was really the only bad point the entire trip. I'll probably do a separate video just of my review of Amtrak. If you've watched this video all the way through, you've already seen that, but I am going to do that as well. And one other loose ends to tie up from this trip. I mentioned in one of the videos that I was possibly going to break the record for most miles on a rental car in 2 days. Came up just short. My previous record was 780 from a trip to San Antonio in the Rio Grande Valley earlier this year. This time I came close, but not quite. 720 miles on that rental car. So thanks for watching. If you've watched the entire trip videos so far, I appreciate it, and I'll probably throw up some random stuff from my day-to-day adventures around home. I'm always out doing something. And I don't, as of this moment, know what the next trip I'm going on will be, but it will probably be figured out fairly soon. Anyway, thanks again for watching.